And the concept behind that is that if a wealthy person looks at a person who steals a loaf of bread to feed their family or shoes so that their daughter doesn't go barefoot, if that person does that, he needs to go to jail. That's their concept, the wealthy. Now we say the same thing to you. If you're going to steal from us or damage our lives somehow, you need to pay. So that they go on now and say, if you have a problem with that whole concept, we will give you a little of the understanding or reasoning behind it. First, each person who is being considered for a public trust position will read and sign a document explaining the punishment for the selling of that trust. They will be judged competent enough to understand what they're signing before they sign. They will also have to pass through the court system and be judged. If you're going to convict them, you also have to go through this new court system and be judged guilty before the punishment is imposed. That means 12 people in the new court system have found that person guilty. That should be enough of a safeguard. If not, the person still has the exception group for the last appeal if she or he dares. What does that mean? You're found guilty and you can say, hey, I want the exception group to look at this because blah, 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 blah. And you know that the exception group is being watched very carefully, so the exception group takes it, and if there's something wrong, they catch it. And they say, no, there's something more to this than you knew, and blah, blah, It's exception. That's what they're there for. That's what they do. That's their job. So, good. You get the person that really isn't guilty, you don't want them to be punished. You got to like that. The second part is that we hired judges, police officers, investigators, public officials, government agents, and all the others. We hired them. They have great power, and we must place great trust in them. They make decisions that affect our way of life. They even hold our life in their hands. For that, we pay them in both wages and prestige. As society changes in the new system, these positions will have even greater honor because they've removed so much of the corruption. For that pay and honor, we have the right to ask that they be accountable to us. We have the right to make them pay a severe price for selling our trust. How will we know who's guilty of violation of the public trust, and how will we get him or her to trial? The question points to a true problem in our society, and boy, let me tell you, it does. One of the tools used to control those in the bureaucracy is a code that says we take care of our own. Camaraderie, family unit thinking is used to keep atrocities quiet and the buddy or our family member protected. What are they saying? The bureaucracy now covers its own, protects its own. Starts with little things and goes on until the whole unit is rotten and covering for itself. How then can anyone break through the code of protection and stop the violations of public trust? The police officers won't arrest one of their own. The government bureaucracy won't allow one of theirs to be brought before a jury of 12. How are we going to enforce this public trust segment of our bureaucratic system? How are we going to catch them? What are you going to do? Call a policeman? You know that won't work. So what do they say? The answer lies in the fact that any person or group of people from any walk of life can appeal to the exception unit and ask for relief from a situation. And of course, if you hadn't seen it before, we have an exception group in this bureaucracy of the government. So this group will be elected and will serve only once asked or petitioned. They will work in a unit of no more than 12, and we will hire as many units as needed to get the job done. If asked, this exception group has a right to ask people's trust news to investigate an area of government or the police force. They can find the facts. The investigators know what we're talking about. If the facts warrant a charge, the exception group can file a charge and it will go to trial. That bypasses the police and the government officials and anybody else that gets in the way. As the investigation continues, anyone who interferes or covers up will also be liable for the same charge of selling the public trust. That should keep things a lot more honest in all areas of government. you get your concept now that they're really serious about this public trust thing. They got groups watching groups, and then they've got groups watching groups that are watching groups. And they have investigators, and none of that. You see none of that now. You can't get a police officer to investigate another police officer. You can't get a legal system to investigate another. They're all self-serving. Not all. Well, maybe all. If you can't ever get a government official or a police unit of any kind to investigate another police unit properly with a real investigation, then it's all units. So it's time to do something about it. And boy, they got it down. They got you covered again and again. They've got people watching people to make sure that this thing works. And that's what they meant when they said get out of the bureaucracy and don't nitpick. Get somebody above that can do the research and has the power and authority to nail whoever's involved. And that's what they're giving you. They're giving you these different groups, exception group, going to investigate a police officer, and there's no police that's going to dare hide what happened because they're going to be right in the same boat. So, and they say one last thing about trust in the exception group. There's certain areas of government that need guidance and control or watching. We have designed the new system to be self-running and self-cleaning, rather than trying to watch all of government, which takes just too much time. We would have you watch and guide just a small and easy-to-see segment of it. One such segment to watch is the exception group. Watch them, see what they do, give them feedback, replace them as needed until they perform the difficult task well. Don't get into the nitpicking mode. They are there to keep the government honest and protect those who are the voice of our new and ever-changing world. They are there to take care of the 5% who can't seem to fit into the norm. Let them do their job, but keep them on the task and watch what it is they do. They will determine the course of your government and your life. Let them know where you want to go.